Just to get this straight, at first, according to Democrats, they said inflation, quote, wasn't happening. And then inflation was merely transitory, they tried to convince us. And then inflation somehow only hurt rich folks. That was the other line of reasoning. But Washington Democrats' latest fiction might be their greatest yet. The past year of steady, unrelenting price increases for gas and consumer goods is actually Vladimir Putin's fault. Madam Speaker, what is so hard about just being honest with the American people? President Biden should accept responsibility for the past year of rising prices and pledge to correct course. He'd better, or we're in for more and more pain. Here's the thing. They are trying to convince the American people that an American president can't control gas prices in the United States, but Russians can. Good luck with that. We got another crisis, yet another crisis created by the policy choices of this White House. The national average price for a gallon of gas reached $4.32 on Sunday, and yes, that is the highest price in U.S. history. Last Thursday, we also learned that the U.S. inflation soared 7.9% over the past 12 months. That's the largest spike in consumer prices in 40 years. And now the Washington Democrats' blame game is in full swing. So just to get this straight, at first, according to Democrats, they said inflation, quote, wasn't happening. And then inflation was merely transitory, they tried to convince us. And then inflation somehow only hurt rich folks. That was the other line of reasoning. But Washington Democrats' latest fiction might be their greatest yet. The past year of steady, unrelenting price increases for gas and consumer goods is actually Vladimir Putin's fault.
Putin's gas hike. That's his gas hike. So much of this increase in the gas tax, gas price started weeks leading up to what happened there.
Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin.
Yes, that's right, Madam Speaker. Vladimir Putin, he didn't kill the Keystone Pipeline. Joe Biden did. Vladimir Putin didn't ban drilling for oil on federal lands. Joe Biden did that. Vladimir Putin didn't pass trillions upon trillions in unnecessary government spending in a single year. Joe Biden and the Washington Democrats did that. Madam Speaker, what is so hard about just being honest with the American people? President Biden should accept responsibility for the past year of rising prices and pledge to correct course. He'd better, or we're in for more and more pain. The president should do everything in his power to make it easier, not harder, for America to produce more oil and gas. This would lower prices for the American people. It would make our country and Europe less dependent on foreign energy. But instead, President Biden says he actually, quote, can't do much right now, unquote, about the skyrocketing gas prices.
It's going to go up. Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible.
The Democrat caucus leader said the issue of gas prices, quote, hasn't come up during his party's caucus meetings. Really?
Gas prices likely increase. What is the thinking within your caucus about how to deal with that issue specifically? And what has been the reaction of your colleagues to, things like diplomatic outreach to countries like Venezuela and Saudi Arabia in terms of like increasing the global oil supply?
Yeah, that issue hasn't come up, but I think increasing the global oil supply at the moment, to the extent that there are implications, particularly for Europe, which is more heavily reliant.
You haven't made time to discuss any solutions to the #1 issue facing Americans right now? Now that the Biden administration and congressional Democrats know they're in a tight spot, here's the thing. They are trying to convince the American people that an American president can't control gas prices in the United States, but Russians can. Good luck with that.
So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true. I don't think we need any lectures from our friends on the other side about fiscal responsibility, for God's sake. The oil companies and the executives, they don't want to pump more oil, although they have every capacity to do so. Nothing is slowing them up from doing it if they want to. Why? Rather than spend the profits in the increased price of gasoline, they would rather take those profits and buy back stock, buy back their own stock. rather than take that money and invest it in pumping new oil. Not a joke. Not a joke. So don't tell me gas prices rose because I've slowed down the American energy production. In my first year in office, American production grew by 9.7 million barrels today to 11.6 million. There's an impediment to production in the United States, and it's called the bankers on Wall Street. This crisis is another indication of why we need to get off dependency on fossil fuels. This is not a solution to today's crisis. It's about the future. We did it as Democrats without a single solitary Republican vote. And the one-year anniversary of the passage of that act is tomorrow. We should be proud of it. We did so much, people don't even know we did it. But let's be absolutely clear about why prices are so high right now. People had money to spend, but what they didn't do is they didn't want to go to restaurants. They didn't want to go out and go on vacations. They didn't spend money on leisure activities. So they wanted to spend it on other things, on hard goods, home improvements, televisions, additions to their homes. So what happened? Prices went up exponentially. Putin, I love, the Republicans saying it's Biden's gas pipeline. Biden said he's going to stop the Keystone pipeline, and I did. And that's the reason prices went up. Give me a break. Give me a break. Don't let anybody tell you anything you did supporting the idea that we block Russian oil coming into the country, which is going, and I said at the time, prices are going to go up for gasoline. It wasn't anything we did.